The minimum wage increased, but did Jamaicans really get a pay raise? Effective July 1, 2026, Jamaica's national minimum wage increased from $16,000 to $17,000 for a 40-hour work week. That's an increase of $1,000 per week, or 6.25%. And for many workers, every extra dollar matters. But some people are happy, some people are relieved, but many are also asking, is it enough? Because while wages increased, so too did transportation costs. Food prices increased, fuel prices, and the overall cost of living. So here's the question. Has life actually become more affordable, or are prices moving faster than incomes? Welcome back to Building Wealth with Wisdom. I'm your host, Adrian. Let's talk. So here's why people feel pressured. There's a phrase Jamaicans often use. They give with one hand and take it back with the other. Now, whether you agree with that statement or not, that feeling is real for many households, because people aren't only watching their paycheck, they're watching prices. Food up, gas up, transportation up, electricity up, school expenses up, and daily living way up. And many households feel like the extra money disappears quickly. That's because what really matters is not only how much money comes in, it's how much your money can actually buy. And that's what economists call the purchasing power. And when prices rise faster than income, people feel the pressure and they feel squeezed. So, what are the inflation numbers saying? According to the Statistical Institute of Jamaica Statin, the point-to-point inflation from May 2025 to May 2026 was 5.5%, and monthly inflation alone in May 2026 was 1.6%. Statin reported that the largest contributors were food and non-alcoholic beverages, restaurant and accommodation services, transport and housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels. Now, these are not luxury expenses. These are the essentials every household depends on. And food inflation is especially noticeable. Now, you may not see an increase from one week to the next, but over several months, those increases accumulate. And before long, the grocery budget that once worked no longer stretches as far. Now, what is the Bank of Jamaica, the BOJ, saying? Well, the BOJ is warning that we need to watch the developments closely. And although the bank maintained its policy interest rate, it also warned that inflation risk remains elevated. And one major reason is higher international oil prices driven by the conflict in the Middle East. And the BOJ expects inflation to breach its 4 to 6% target range later this year before gradually returning to lower, stable, and predictable levels if the global conditions improve. In simple terms, prices may continue to rise before they begin to stabilize. And that's important because higher oil prices increase transportation costs. Transportation increases business costs. Business costs affect the prices consumers pay, which means even if wages increase, the amount those wages can buy may not improve by very much. One other area we want to look at is transportation costs. Effective July 1st, 2026, the second phase of the government-approved increase in public passenger vehicle fares came into effect. Combined, the two phases represent a 16% fare adjustment. And so if you rely on public transportation to get to work, to school, or to run your business, that increase affects you immediately. And it doesn't stop there. Higher transportation costs also affect delivery costs, distribution costs, business operations, and ultimately the prices consumers pay. Another area of concern is the electricity pressure. Back in March 2026, the JPS advised Jamaicans to prepare for higher electricity bills as rising international fuel prices continue to affect energy costs, and electricity touches almost every aspect of our lives. Running a business, keeping food refrigerated, manufacturing, retail, and household budgets. So when energy costs rises, those costs usually flow through the entire economy. But what about employers? This conversation isn't only about employees. Employers are feeling the pressure too, and the government has encouraged employers to pay above the minimum wage where they are able to do so. But not every business has that flexibility. Many employers are already dealing with higher wages, higher transportation, higher utility bills, higher supplier costs, and intense competition locally and abroad. And some businesses may be able to absorb these costs. Others may be able to improve efficiency. Some increase their prices. Others reduce expenses or restructure their operation. But it's a difficult balancing act. So, we welcome the increase in the minimum wage. Every extra dollar can make a difference for a household trying to make ends meet. But today's discussion reminds us of something equally important. Income matters, but purchasing power also matters, because the real question is not simply how much I earn. How far can my money actually go? And if you're earning the minimum wage, you may be asking yourself, how much income do I really need to live comfortably in Jamaica? If you're an employer or someone who hires helpers, caregivers, gardeners, or tradesmen, you may be wondering, how does this increase affect me? We'll answer those questions in episode 2, where we'll examine who really benefits from minimum wage increases, who bears the cost, and whether Jamaica should begin shifting the conversation from a minimum wage to a living wage. This has been Building Wealth with Wisdom. Until next time, walk good, stay wise, and build wealth with wisdom. See you in the next episode.